Welcome back to Make Me a Fan. I'm the Jag.
I'm Pete.
And it's Sunday. And you know what that means? On Sunday, we do a classic wrestling match. And so last week, the Encyclopedia picked a doozy. And I felt pressure to pick something good. And so I kind of racked my brain. I went back and forth, and I picked something, Pete, that I think you're going to freaking love. Are you ready?
I'm always ready.
All right. So this week, things started to open back up. I took my kids to a little play place, and I needed something to do while I sat there, and so I brought this. If you have never seen this before, you've seen this before. Did you back this on Kickstarter?
I did not. I backed the next book after. I backed the Cornette one, but I didn't back the original one.
So this is written by one of my friends, a prolific and gifted writer. His name is Brandon Easton. He's a huge wrestling fan, and he's an amazing comic book and TV writer, and now I think he's getting into films. He's written Spider-Man. He's written all kinds of stuff, but he wrote this wonderful graphic novel, Andre the Giant, Closer to Heaven, and I hadn't read it yet. I bought this thing at like freaking LA Comic-Con last fall. And so I said, you know what? I'm going to read this Andre the Giant thing. So I read it, and it was fan-freaking-tastic. 2 thumbs up. If you can get your hands on this book, you most definitely should. And so then I wanted to watch some Andre the Giant match. And I tried to get a little tricky, right? I tried to get a little tricky with some tag team stuff. I started looking at Demolition versus the Colossal Connection, which was an interesting match. You remember the Colossal Collection?
Of course. Unfortunately, yes.
Yes, it was called Haku Does All the Work, and Andre stands there and looks intimidating, right? So those matches weren't that great. Mega Powers versus the Mega Bucks, same thing, except Haku's part was played by Ted DiBiase. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm, pretty much.
And so I thought, I want to watch some classic Andre, and you know where it doesn't get much more classic than WrestleMania 3. Andre versus Hulk freaking Hogan, Encyclopedia. Are you ready?
Dude, I watched this live in 1987 on pay-per-view.
I don't remember watching it live. I do remember watching it with some friends. I want to say it's a vague kind of a fuzzy memory, but I think it was like closed circuit TV, right?
Yeah.
Like you had to go.
Well, no, it was on pay-per-view as well because we had Cox Cable in Omaha and we were actually able to get it. We were over at the neighbors. We lived in a cul-de-sac. Okay. And the neighbors actually had it on pay-per-view, and they actually had to have somebody from the cable company come out specifically to make sure that it was going to work. Yeah, I mean, come on, this is 1987, dude. It's not like now where it's like you go to Fight.tv and you see GCW and you click pay and you Apple Pay from your phone and it works. We have come a very long way in 30 years.
Most definitely. Now, I remember watching this on a big, giant, like, movie screen kind of a thing in a big room. So it's like a hall. And so I got to ask my parents, like, did we go watch this somewhere? But I hadn't seen it in years. And my youngest, I won't name his name, but I got a 9-year-old. And I had to educate him on pro wrestling. So I said, hey, let's watch some classic Andre. And I thought, you know what? It doesn't get much more classic than Hulk Hogan versus Andre the Giant. So even though I've seen this match probably 10 times, even though I'll probably watch another 10 before I die, today, Encyclopedia, you are getting Andre the Giant versus Hulk Hogan at WrestleMania 3. Are you ready?
I'm always ready, dude. I love strolling down memory lane. This is going to give me all the feels.
Oh, most def. All right, so the Encyclopedia is going to press the play button when?
Right about now.
There ain't much that can be said about this match that hasn't already freaking been said. This is like the match that launched 1,000 ships, right? This is the match that changed the game. I kind of forgot that Hogan was the champion. I mean, he was essentially, this is just a title defense, but they had built Andre up as such this monster. First of all, I mean, did it kill you hearing the rhetoric that Andre had never been beaten, had never been taken off his feet? Because you have seen plenty of matches where Andre was beaten.
Less than 10 times Andre's ever gotten off his feet, but I think the thing that I loved more than that was Jesse the Body Ventura selling the fact that Andre hasn't lost in 12 years. So if we're taking the math there, and that's 1987 minus 12 into the 70s, that is a very, very viable, believable thing because pretty much since the 60s, when Andre really started touring the world, no one lost because Andre was an attraction. Yeah. He might lose by a DQ or a count out or something like that. But nobody pinned Andre because who pins the 7'5" guy? Because the guy that does that in their territory is going to be straight to the top.
Oh,
I mean, we see that with this match with Hogan because this was the passing of a torch. That this was the end of a generation and the beginning of what we now call modern wrestling. But if someone actually beat Andre for the 1, 2, 3, are you kidding me? Like that would be that. they'd be talking about it on, Walter Cronkite would be talking about that on the CBS News that Andre the Giant lost. That's how big that would have been.
Well, I mean, and even in the graphic novel, they had some callbacks to matches in Canada. When he was John Fair versus I forget what it is. I went looking for it, I couldn't find it, so maybe you can help me find it. I want to watch some of those even older matches where Andre was the face, right? Mm-hmm. He was doing drop kicks and crazy stuff. I want to see some of that crazy stuff.
We'll watch some Andre New Japan. Andre in New Japan was amazing stuff, and that's all on New Japan World. So we will definitely watch some of that.
I need to see that because I want to see more classic Andre, because you can tell that he's not moving that well in this match. You can tell, and even by reading the book and other things I've seen, he had back surgery not too long after this match. So Andre was pretty stiff, but it was still an entertaining match.
Oh, no, it's an amazing match.
Yeah, dude, the storytelling was think about that. There were maybe 4 moves in this whole match, right? A body slam, a leg drop, with a bear hug, you know what I'm saying?
Exactly. And some striking, and then the outside work. But yeah, that's exactly it. Like, again, you don't need to do everything to have a great 12-minute match, especially in a building with 93,000. Calling back to what we were taught about in school, it's about that person that's sitting up in the very far row with that 93,000. Why do you think the bear hug worked? Well, because you know what's going on.
Exactly.
He was selling and building anticipation with the crowd, that interaction when all of a sudden that arm goes and just stays up, and then you just start seeing him. I mean, that's obviously the Hulk up had existed before, but this is what kicks the door wide open on the Hulk up. And, I mean, again, 93,000 people, you can't see anything, but you can certainly see him hulking up.
Oh, for sure. And then you see, Andre, he missed 2 headbutts in this match, where he goes for the headbutt in the corner, and that allows Hogan to escape, and then the headbutt on the outside where he butts the post. That was great.
For sure.
It's just those little things. If you said, hey, Jack, we're going to do a match. It's going to be 12 minutes long or whatever, and you're going to do 7 moves. First of all, I'm great because my cardio sucks, okay? But secondly, I'm like, 7 moves? Now, we're no Canadian Destroyer, no dives. You know what I mean?
No holding, no standing there prone for 40 seconds while you get your footing so that you can then, do a 630 Meteora onto me. I mean, yeah.
For real. And so I was excited to see such a classic match with classic storytelling. And of course, we've seen it before, but it's always worth watching again. And I think one of my favorite parts, I'm going to tell you my favorite part, then I'm going to throw you a curveball and tell you the part I hated the most. All right? My favorite part is after Andre gets slammed and pinned, and Andre's on the outside, he's talking trash to Hogan like, this is a fluke, I'm coming back. I don't think I've ever seen Andre so animated. Andre was like, mother, son of a bitch, he's letting him have it. And I'm like, yo, Andre is selling his ass off. And
then him and Bobby get in the cart, and then they're just going, it's so good. I mean, again, from the second he hits the curtain to the second he leaves the curtain, Andre is always emoting, especially after losing, because again, I hadn't lost in 12 years. This has to, just like, you think about just being able to do that part of that, that's amazing.
And I love, like you said, the cart, he's going back into the cart and he's still talking. And like, he didn't kind of holding them back. And he's like, you mother, and the believability is Andre's pissed. He got the wind knocked out of him or whatever the fluke is. And if he wanted to, he could get back in that ring and destroy Hogan. Like, you believed it. He's like, I lost, but mother, son of a biscuit, I'm coming back.
Oh, yeah, no, give me a second chance. We can go again for a second time right now, and I'll beat you. And again, great storytelling, building for a rematch. Obviously, it never happened, but the door. Yeah, but not to the same degree, on the same platform, or anything near. Like, this wasn't the main event of WrestleMania 4. They didn't build this for another year. Yeah, no, for sure.
Not like a Rock Cena, right? Where they like only time ever, except next year.
Except we'll do it again next year at WrestleMania.
Yeah. But the last thing, the thing that I hated. Okay, first of all, I'm going to ask, can you guess the thing that I hated about this match?
Was it the outside stuff with Hogan trying to pile drive Andre?
No, that was kind of weird. And they even said, like, even Jesse said on commentary, like, it's kind of a heel move. Like, what's Hogan doing? Yeah. And that's a terrible bump too when he did the backdrop on the.
Yeah, and he just slid him off, and that was for me the low point. But again, I get that, like, Hogan's probably trying to run it with Andre. Andre's probably like, boss, I can't do it, you got to understand that. Like you said, he went and had back surgery after that. After that, Andre really started to slow down. And then when he filmed Princess Bride, there's those stories that, he couldn't even catch Buttercup.
Yeah.
You know, he was unfortunately that broken down by giving himself and his body and everything and his all to professional wrestling. So, yeah, it's one of those things that this is a great match, though. I do want to know what bothered you.
All right, we're gonna come back to Princess Bride in a second, okay?
Yes.
But the thing that killed me on this match, the thing that broke my heart in this match, the thing that made me angry and want to punch Vince McMahon right in the freaking junk, Howard Finkel.
Oh.
Poor Howard Finkel is standing there in the ring where he freaking belongs, right? Where he should be ring announcing one of the biggest matches, if not the biggest match in the history of the WWF/WWE. The Fink is standing there, and I'm waiting to hear the Fink do a classic, here is your winner, and instead, it's this jabroni, Bob freaking Uecker, from Major League, from Mr. Belvedere, and God knows what else. He was a pro baseball player, I guess, whatever. But Bob Uecker on the ring announcing, and it sounded terrible. Terrible. This is a crime against the Fink. It was a crime against wrestling. It is a robbery. I'd like to report a robbery because Vince McMahon robbed the fans of the best damn ring announcer in the history of the game, announcing one of the biggest matches. And when you watch this, people, if you didn't see this, go back and watch this. If you look at Fink's face as he stands in the ring as Bob Uecker is doing his job, it looks like he lost his best friend. It looks like he'd just been, informed that his cancer. You know what I mean? He looked miserable, and I hated Vince for this, dude. I was furious when I watched this. Did you catch that, Encyclopedia?
Oh, for sure. But for me, it's a more subtle thing because, again, starting with WrestleMania 1 and 2, he star-packed it. 3, he didn't have as much. He started winning them in 4 and 5. And then the last time you actually see anybody do any of that stuff at WrestleMania was WrestleMania 11 with Pam Anderson and Jenny McCarthy, with Shawn and Diesel and all of that. And you got to remember that was kind of a phase where you needed the celebrity clout to get the common person to want to watch WrestleMania on closed circuit, especially WrestleMania 2, when it was done over 3 different locations. WrestleMania, and then with WrestleMania 2, they actually partnered with people and they would do a live show, and then they would show the rest of WrestleMania. So there was a lot of different ways to try to figure out how to get people in. Obviously, I saw the buy rate numbers for the pay-per-view. There was 400,000 people that bought this pay-per-view in 1987. Yeah, that was 8%. That was 8% of the viewing audience at that time bought that pay-per-view on paper. So that just gives you an idea that was about 5 million people had pay-per-view in their homes, and 400,000 people bought it. Now you go to WrestleMania 5 and 6 at Trump Plaza, you almost double those numbers because, of course, you have the vacant title, Macho Man wins, and then you get Mega Powers explode. Yeah. So you understand that they're kind of ramping it in that way, and even though celebrities were tied to it as WrestleMania progressed, it became more of, it was just cool to have them there. They didn't necessarily need to participate.
Now, I hear what you're saying, and I understand the need for the celebrities. I understand the celebrities help them get over the whole rock and wrestling connection, right? I get that. I understand. But Bob Uecker, this doesn't age well. And the Fink deserved better.
No, I understand, but you got to remember, Bob Uecker was on several WrestleManias. So he was on WrestleMania. He was also on WrestleMania 8, I think, when it was in Indiana at the Hoosier Dome with Vanna White and a couple other people. So Bob Uecker, remember, Bob Uecker is in the WWE Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
So,
not getting on Uecker, I just feel like the Fink.
Yeah, no, I completely agree that this should have been something that Howard Finkel, this should have been one of his signature things.
Yeah. Can you imagine, let's keep it real for a second. If I told you, hey, The Rock versus Stone Cold, who's the ring announcer? You're like, the Fink, Okay, Bret Hart versus Austin, who's the announcer? The Fink. And Howard Finkel's acceptance speech at the WWE Hall of Fame, he's like, I always tried to get people over. I tried to make it seem like a big deal, and so I'm going to do this for myself. And he puts himself over, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah, because he's still a fan, and I think that's what makes it so good is that you can still be a fan of the sport while participating because you know what the fan wants, and you want to give them what they want. And again, that's part of that whole anticipation.
Yeah, I just felt like he got robbed a little bit. But I want to end on a positive note. This was a fantastic match. Andre the freaking legend. Back to your Princess Bride comments, okay? Now think of me, 87, I was 8 years old, whatever. And so Andre the Giant's a jerk, right? Mega Powers, Money Incorporated, whatever, Mega Bucks, whatever. I hated Andre the Giant. I was like, why is he up against my man Hogan, Hogan could do no wrong, and Andre was a jerk. And that's because I was a mark, right? I didn't know any better. And Then he shows up on Princess Bride, and he's the lovable, Fezzik or whatever. And I'm like, Andre's awesome. And I'm like, but why is he so mad at Hogan? It gave me like a conflict as a kid. I was like, why is Andre so nice here and so mean here? Like, dude, kayfabe was the truth back in the day. And I appreciate that. Yeah, man. So, I don't know. This is kind of an easy, kind of a layup for a classic choice. If you want to see something a little more obscure, people at home and Encyclopedia, feel free to watch the Demolition versus the Colossal Connection, okay? Because that one was... It was all right.
Yeah. No, we'll suggest better ones in the next time. But so while we're still socially distancing, let's watch some more classic wrestling. How about that? How about let's stroll to the WWE Network and we're going to watch WWE Crunch Classic. We've got 8 crazy fun matches, all scattered throughout the early 90s.
I have no idea what we're about to see. When you said Crunch Classic, I looked it up real quick, but I didn't want to spoil it for myself. So I was like, what the hell is a Crunch Classic? I don't know, and you probably don't know, so I guess you got to come back tomorrow, 9 o'clock Pacific, 12 noon Eastern, and find out what the hell Crunch Classic is. Do you want to tell us what the first match is, Encyclopedia?
Okay, fine. We're going to see Roddy Piper versus the Mountie for the Intercontinental title from Royal Rumble 1992.
Roddy Piper versus the Mountie? Okay, all right. Ladies and people, come back tomorrow at 9 o'clock Pacific, 12 noon Eastern for Roddy Piper versus the Mountie as part of WWE's Crunch Classic. Man, that's an obscure one right there, Encyclopedia, but I have a feeling it's going to be fun. So hit that subscribe button down below. Make sure you ring the bell so you're notified of any and all new episodes. Be sure to follow us online on all social media channels at Make Me a Fan 316. You can follow the Encyclopedia at Pete Trerice. You can follow the Jag at AKA the Jag. Anything you want to add, Pedia?
We'll see everybody tomorrow.
Tomorrow.